Hey, fans of the Monday Movie Club. This week, Amy got all nostalgic on our asses with My Bodyguard from 1980, which is number 5,256 on the Franken list. It should be higher.
We should have all grown Oates mustache for today in honor of Hall and Oates from that 1980.
Which has nothing to do with the movie, but okay.
No,
It was
continue
the
on that conversation.
pre-conversation you didn't hear, and Mark just woke up. He fell asleep. It's a whole thing. I'm Frank Gaffney. With us always, Joel Fenster. It's got a blue cup in the background. Don't know what that is. Mark G. Wotitz Gardner. No picture for him. Goldfuck and Cringer.
It's vodka.
That's and Annie King now in her dining room.
Yeah.
With the leftover with the leftover paint from the kitchen. Okay, here's the plot. Clifford Peach?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Each.
A very believable Chris Makepeace, whatever happened to him. He's a sensitive, well-to-do teenager who becomes the target of a bully, the very bullyish Matt Dillon. He's very scary. After he starts attending a new school, tired of being picked on, Clifford recruits a brooding, tough kid to be his bodyguard. This was the film debut of Adam Baldwin, who's no relation to the Long Island Baldwins, by the way. Okay, I didn't have anything else to say, but here's my observations while watching. Special appearance by Martin Mull. What was that about?
Yeah.
That's what it said in
Yeah,
the credits. I'm like,
yeah, he had more than an appearance. He was there for a bit.
yeah, but he got a special appearance billing. And Amy hates old ladies that talk about sex.
Oh my God.
Did you hate Ruth Gordon?
Yeah, I mean, I love Ruth Gordon. I grew up watching her as teen.
She was in your movie, Amy. She was in The Big Bus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was a huge star back then, but that character is just so not funny.
And the kid who was his friend with the gum under the desk, why was his voice dubbed the whole entire movie?
Yeah.
That was one of the notes I wrote. What kind of voice was that? He sounded like an old man. It was
Yeah,
weird.
it's like they got an adult to dub his voice.
Yeah,
But not in what would have been funnier if it would have been like Froggy or something. It was just a man's voice. It was weird.
yeah,
It was very weird. And then Baby Joan Cusack.
yeah.
She was so little. And then did I just see underage butt? By the 80s. One of the boys walked by in the locker room, his butt
Yeah.
Yeah.
sticking out. And then the 80s again, RC Cola. Ugh.
I have a note on that.
Me
Yes.
too.
They still make it.
Do they?
Product placement. And it takes place in Chicago, but that's going to be John Hughes territory in just a few short years
Yeah.
after 1980. And then we see baby Jennifer Beals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where was she? I didn't see her.
She was
She was her
Joan
friend
Cusack's
with that
friend.
hair.
Yeah.
As
I
soon
know
as I
she was
saw her, I was
listed.
like, oh my God, Jennifer Beals. And she wasn't even credited.
She was. Danielle looked her up and she said Jennifer Beals is in the movie, and we didn't see her at all.
She didn't get a
Wow.
credit when they
You
rolled
must have
by.
been you must have been making out at that point.
We were not.
It was when they
She was
they
in
were
a couple of
somewhere
scenes.
else. Yeah. Anyway, she was not flash dancing, so you didn't notice.
Yeah.
And why, pray tell, does Adam Baldwin have drag queen eyebrows? They tweezed his eyebrows. It looks ridiculous. Did you notice anybody? Ridiculous. Drag queen eyebrows. And then I stood up and yelled when he showed up. Norm!
Yeah.
I have a note on that too. RC Cola and Norm, exactly. And by the way, Zoso,
What does that mean?
Amy and Annie. That's
Oh,
The blanket.
Led Zeppelin blanket we bought
yes.
her.
Oh, okay.
And over there is Joel's, just so you know.
Um,
Room.
and Matt Dillon is a real douche. Good
Oh,
Lord.
yeah.
We all knew that already.
No, I think he's nice in real life.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
Just
And
movies at this point, he was a real douche.
Yeah.
yeah, and then as it got onto and more into the story of what's Clifford? No, what's the kid? What's
Ricky?
the bodyguard
Ricky.
thing?
Ricky?
Ricky, that's his name?
Yep.
I was like, damn, this movie just got mature and sophisticated.
Yeah.
And Adam Baldwin was only 17 years old when he made this
Oh.
movie.
Yep.
It's a
He was a big boy.
pretty mature performance.
He's
Yeah.
6'4".
For a 10th grader, yeah.
But again, 1980, I absolutely did not appreciate that it came down to everyone having to fight each other. Like that's the wrong message. But
I disagree at the very end. At least he let the kid fight and beat up Matt Dillon himself. That's the right thing to do.
oh my God, you're such a male chauvinist pig.
It's
It's
nope.
not right to fight it.
None of the above. None of the above. Let him
It's
fight
not
for
fight to
himself
fight
rather than depending on
Nah.
a bodyguard to protect him. He could beat him on his own. That's very
And there's
important.
also an old saying,
You should be beating anybody.
you never start a fight, but you always finish one.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
nobody should be beating up anybody.
But if you're getting beat up on,
All
Frank,
right,
don't
stop
depend on
talking.
someone else. Depend on
All right,
yourself. That
all
was
right.
very important. I disagree
I
100%.
would go tell the teacher. 3 stars for me. It really was kind of sweet and honest and sincere, and the relationship between Cliff and Ricky was lovely. So I'm going with 3 stars. Annie, did you see this before? I'm sure you did, right?
I thought so, but I didn't because I don't remember any of it. So, but
Well, but that's just Amy-itis.
no, I truly think I didn't see
I
it.
didn't remember any of it,
Yeah,
And
I
she picked
truly
it.
except the motorcycle scene.
Yeah, it was a little confusing for me. I thought he was really kind of brave for the new kid, in all the high school movies that you see.
Right, and
Like,
sassing back the bully, yeah.
yeah, and it was a really big, big high school, all those floors as he's running down. I was like, that's huge.
I had
Oh,
2,000 kids in my high school.
Yeah. In Queens, yeah.
yeah, I had 3,000, but I don't think we had that many floors. But
All right.
the RC Cola I wrote down, how funny was that? And then I got to the part where it was really confusing. That whole like montagey thing with the looking for the cylinder. Was it the same day that they found it as when he followed him, or was it like over
Yes,
seven
it
months?
was a 28-hour day is what I wrote down. Yes, it was a long, long day.
Yeah, and then that they like built it because he was wearing the same clothes, and then they had all the streaks, like the dirt streaks and stuff when they were right. So they did all that in one afternoon after
Yes,
school ended.
ridiculous.
I
Yes.
was like, I'm very confused. Is this like over several days, but then the clothes were the same? So, and well,
It's the directorial debut of Tony Bill. I don't know why I said that.
yeah,
It was,
and
first
yeah,
try, not bad, not bad.
Huh?
no, I agree. It was, it was nice to see them like forming the friendship and everything. And Matt Dillon was such a douche, like with the motorcycle, and I'm like, oh, you know, and I was a little surprised, like when he didn't fight back at first, and even like when they took his motorcycle and and everything. So
But he had a good reason.
yeah,
He wasn't a fighter. He was just a big guy.
Yeah.
yeah. So but sad also when he was talking about his brother and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I felt like kind of, ended like every other bullying movie.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah, again, and the 1980 kind of,
oh,
we
the
need
music was
to have that
very,
comeuppance, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very like
But I think it did have some nice sweet moments as well, and like I said, their relationship was great. So to me, it was a little better than the average.
Fair.
yeah. But then I think, like you said, like John Hughes is going to do it so much better.
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
in 2 or 3 years, he'll be
Yeah.
Frank, had you seen it before? No, right?
in the 80s, I definitely saw it for sure, and I'm sure I was rooting them on the same way because I was a bullied kid.
Yeah.
There's a bully on my screen right now.
Mhm. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with the three. It was fine. It wasn't anything thrilling, but I had to give it a 3 because I liked it a lot more than Honora, which I gave a 2.5.
Yeah, yeah. There's little apples and oranges there, but okay, fine. Mark G, Chicago, but it could have been the Bronx.
Yeah, but I don't like Chicago. I've come to realize I don't like Chicago. And this is my third time seeing this movie, I'd say. I saw it when I was a kid, and then I saw it probably when I was 20, which was now 30 years ago. And then I saw it this
Oh,
week. And I did not remember much of it at all, Amy. Um, I wrote notes in order of watching it. I said when the kid first interacts with Lindemann and asks him to be his bodyguard, and he says, not interested, Danielle cracked me up by saying, shit, I guess the movie's over. Then,
Not my bodyguard.
yeah, nope, not your bodyguard. All right, that's it. What are we doing next?
Good time.
I give demerits for the long opening with music and no lyrics, as I did to
You
what the
mean
hell?
over the credits, that whole thing when he
The
was writing?
opening, yeah, with oh my God, what's the Spike Lee movie that we watched?
Do the right
The
thing.
right thing.
Oh my God, with the whole dance moves, the whole thing. Holy crap, it's too long.
Well, but
Um,
that was
you have to
a
remember,
thing.
Mark walks into musicals after the overture's done.
Right.
yes, absolutely.
You're the only kid
The
that
first time I saw
overtook
this, I remember being very concerned that kids in high school were going to be huge and I was going to get my ass kicked. I was probably 10 years old. So at 10 years old, I literally watched this movie and was like, oh my God, there's like giants in high school. Like, how am I going to compete? I'm like 5 foot nothing. So it was very, very triggering for me as a kid. And no, I'm not a bully. I was the opposite, Frank. I was bullied. So this was very, very, very scary to me. And yes, RC Cola and Norm. The
You know,
dad.
one time my mother brought home RC Cola. I'm like, what is this crap? Get
I
real,
remember, I remember liking it.
get real soda.
I remember liking it when I was a kid, but I don't remember what it tastes like.
Come on, it was the Hydrox of Diet Coke. Anthony's like, we always had RC Cola because it was less expensive. Your family was cheap. Buy the
Wow.
good stuff.
Um, the dad and the kid spying on the girls with the telescope, and that happening in so
Creepy.
many 80s movies. I remember as a kid, I was like, I can't wait for this to happen. And it
Right.
never happened.
To get a telescope?
We actually, my uncle had a
Oh, he has
telescope. I
a
remember looking
telescope.
out the window, like ready to see all these naked women, and I
Yeah.
saw nothing, nothing
And
ever.
then Porky's looking through the bathroom.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And so many other 80s movies, random movies where they just randomly see Animal House, 78. All right, fine. So 70s and 80s movies, but still nothing. So very upset over that, by the
He's
way,
obviously looking in all the wrong places.
apparently.
Quick, Natasha, flash him.
Yeah,
Ah!
please. Natasha, come on. Nothing?
Oh,
Natasha, it's my
I
birthday.
got the finger. Trust me, I got the finger.
Yeah, next you're gonna get the whole hand.
Yeah.
Um, the 80s, where 15-year-old kids can smoke inside your high school. That was
Yeah,
great.
come on.
That
Yeah.
that scene was when he just lit a cigarette and walked out because he looks like he's 19 years old. Because he
They're
is.
smoking in the boys' room.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
The dialogue when the other bully beats him up was killing me. It was like an improv class where the director was just like, keep going. And he was just like, oh, you think you're tough? It was horrible, horrible, horrible. I hated that scene. It was so bad. Um, Cliff spends half the movie chasing Lindemann around, and the kid can't take a hit. He's literally like, get away from me for half the movie. Literally 50% of the movie. Go away. Go away. And he just keeps chasing him.
Because he sees.
Huh?
Oh, we lost him.
Uh-oh.
He's gone. I didn't remember most of the movie. Lindemann giving fight advice after showing he clearly doesn't know how to fight at the end. And he's like, go for the, lead with your left, go for the nose. I was like, oh my God, it was so bad. However, I did, as I said before, I did really appreciate that he let Cliff beat up Matt Dillon on his own. That is something that kids need to do to prove that they can do it. But still, 2.75 stars to me. It was a like, not a love. Like I said, I had seen it before. It is an 80s movie, technically speaking, but it's not my 80s movie. So it was fun, but I'm good.
It's a little early to be an 80s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
that-
shot in the
And
70s.
kids, if you're listening, please don't beat anybody up. Go tell an adult.
Frank is missing the whole point of this. If you're getting your ass kicked
No,
every day by
sorry.
a
No.
bully,
Sorry.
and
No.
if you are going
No.
to someone else,
No.
hold on.
Joel,
If you're going to someone else
No.
to look to solve your problems,
Joel,
you do it yourself.
Joel,
Find the
Hey.
strength within yourself.
Joel.
That's all I'm saying. And I'm
Joel.
right. Frank is wrong.
So,
Hi.
It's
John.
I will liken it to knowing how to change a tire, and we will move on from that
Thank
conversation.
you. I agree with you, Joel. Joel was right. Frank is wrong.
Okay.
Uh, anyway, yeah. So I saw this.
So just one question.
Yes.
So did you tell a teacher or did you win your own fight, Mark?
Yeah, we're
Well, I never
listening.
got bullied like that. I got bullied on the streets, so there was no teacher involved. I took karate instead, and I became a badass ninja. So that
So
changed
you
my
beat the
life.
crap out of the bullies?
It never had a movie ending like that. No, I never did. I never met up with
No.
him after that. But I learned how to fight, and it changed my life. So I agree with the ability to do that and change your life for that. So yeah,
Iron.
Did it just give you like more confidence in that
100%,
I
100%.
don't need to fight actually, but that I know that I can. So that
Mr. Miyagi's teachings. You learn how to fight so you don't have to fight. 100%. It is absolutely true, which is why, yet again, I will say Frank is wrong. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. You are absolutely, that was a good question. Yes.
Okay, so what we've all agreed on is that fighting is bad, you shouldn't do it, but if for some reason you have to, you should know how to do it.
Yes.
Again, like changing a tire.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway,
Joel, did you like the movie?
yes, I grew up on the movie. I've this is one of those movies that I saw. I think I saw it in the theaters when it came out.
Okay, sorry, I have to interject because you said it's like learning to change a tire, and Anthony said, "I'll just call AAA."
Well, well, and AAA would be his bodyguard
There you
Yes.
or the teacher.
or the teacher.
go. Sorry, Joel, you grew up on this movie. 1980? How old were you in 1980?
I was
11.
11.
11. Okay.
Um, I remember seeing it in the theaters. I know it was like a cable staple for a while
Yeah.
when it had
Yeah,
cable.
that's probably where I saw it.
Yeah, so
In the trivia, they had very little trivia, but it said it became a cult picture, cult not
yeah,
classic, but a cult picture once it hit cable.
yeah. It became
Joel, did you look through your telescope?
no. Well,
Oh,
yes, but not at. We lived in a condo. There was nothing to look at other than the night sky, and even that
ah,
was hard to see sometimes because we lived in a condo in Connecticut, where it's not like flat open space. Um, so I couldn't tell you how many times I've actually seen this movie. I have not seen it in quite some time because it was one of those things that I knew discovered Natasha had not seen, so she watched it with me. Um, and I think it was maybe about three-quarters of the way through, she was like, "You said this would be heartwarming," and I forget what she said, and I was like, "No, I said it would be heartwarming." Oh, she said feel good.
feel good.
I said I never said feel good. I said it was heartwarming. There's a difference. Um, but then she liked it at the end. So,
It's a nice ending.
yeah, she was angry for a while watching the movie.
I don't blame her.
Um,
All that bicycling around and walking around with no dialogue.
well, that was the type of filmmaking back then. There's,
Yeah.
you see that more often then than you do now. Now it's always cut, 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 cut to, whatever the new,
The MTV generation.
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Um, I think it's a sweet movie at the end. It's well acted for the most part.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that Chris Makepeace didn't do much after this. I think he works behind the scenes in movies at this point. But
What was
I liked him. I thought he carried the movie perfectly fine.
he was
yeah,
in one of the, what he was in like at least one other movie, right? What else am I thinking of?
Meatballs is the one that you know him from. He was in
Okay.
Meatballs before this. He was the lead kid in that. So,
Okay.
So he peaks in 1980.
right.
Didn't we all, Frank?
No.
At 15 years old, yeah.
Um, it was nice seeing people that, were a lot younger and barely had any credits, like, Joan Cusack and
Yeah.
George Wendt. And I don't know if any Saturday Night Live fans recognize Tim Kazurinsky at the,
Yeah,
at the
sure.
beginning. Yeah. So, that was kind of nice to see. I always like
And
to see
it's a funny thing, Joel. I think we could even dissect, if you're in a hit movie, there are some we've watched from the 80s and you like know everybody in that movie now, but
Right.
at the
But back then,
time it
yeah,
was
it was,
their first thing. So
yeah,
that's always fun to see.
Johnny
Yeah.
Depp in
Nightmare on
what am
Elm Street.
yes, Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. He got killed. Nobody knew who he was.
But
I don't
now
even remember.
everybody knows who it is. Um,
Nobody wants to know who he is
oh,
now.
But yeah, when I saw Jennifer Beals, I was like, oh my God, you have no idea what a big star you're gonna become in like 4 years, 2 years, or whatever.
And
well,
then careen off the hill.
Yeah.
here's a weird, unimportant, not interesting bit of trivia, but Dean Devlin, who is the director of Independence Day,
Yeah.
his father was one of the producers on this film, and he's actually in the film and credited in the film as Boy. I couldn't tell you where he is as
You know
Boy.
what's so funny? Because when I saw it said Dean Devlin, I'm like, why does that name sound familiar?
That's
Yeah,
why that
yeah.
name sounds familiar.
Well, that's fun.
Um, it's one of the things Natasha was like. She realized she knew at the beginning that it was Chicago because she complained about the pavement along the lake being, there was no shore; it was all
Oh
paved.
my God, the opening scene with the kid riding his bike, I was like, he's gonna die. And this was really there was no CGI. He was really riding his bike about to go into the lake. It was crazy.
Um, but then later on in the film, she completely forgot it was in Chicago because, big cities in the 70s, in the late 70s into early 80s, all looked like, the hellscape that Donald Trump describes every day on the news. And they don't look like that anymore. So she thought it was New York. She forgot we were completely in
That's
Chicago.
what I said.
I
It
can
could
see
have
that.
very easily been in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like the film. I'll see it again at some point in my life before I die, unless that's tomorrow. So um, it's I'm going to give it a 3.25 for the nostalgia factor, just because, as I said, I've seen it a number of times. I enjoy the movie. It's not offensive in any way to me. As much as I do agree with Mark on certain aspects, I also agree with Frank on the idea that we really should not be, quite giving the message of fighting to kids at this point, and I don't think we do. This is very much a dated film in that sense, but.
Again, I'll stay standing up for yourself, not
No,
depending on someone else.
that's why I said I
Yeah.
do agree with the basic message in that sense. But
Yeah.
anyway, it was nice to see at the end they had formed a friendship, and this is one of those movies where I'm like, get a sequel for this now and see where everybody's at, just for shits and giggles.
Funny.
I'm in.
That would be fun.
Anyway, yeah, 3.25.
And he has to call on Adam Baldwin to be his bodyguard in a corporate setting.
Yes,
Or vice versa.
Right.
yeah.
How the tables have turned.
Yes.
Aim, your choice. Now, had you seen it since 1980? You probably watched it to death on cable.
I have no idea. No, I didn't have cable when I lived with Joan, so
So why did you pick it then? You must have.
I don't know. I can't imagine. It's a movie I would have gone back to see, but for some reason, it's just I have a real strong memory of seeing it, and it was part of my childhood. Even though by 14, I'm trying to do more 70s stuff than early teenage stuff, but it was just in my head for some reason.
Wow.
The few notes I wrote. Okay, when he first sat down in the classroom, he sat down next to a little blonde kid. Why did the kid sound like an 18-year-old with that bizarre deep voice? And I said, of course, oh my gosh, Joan Cusack, Jennifer Beals. And the only other note I wrote was it took 45 minutes before he hired Lindemann to become his bodyguard, speaking to Mark about the slowness and, just the way things were back then. MTV generation. I said, it's amazing how slowly the movie's going, and it's already half over, just so many minute details. But I mean, it was never boring. I thought that was kind of interesting for the most part. It just really was like it was heartwarming. It was touching. It was nicely done. It was cliched. You knew how it was going to end, but maybe you think in 1980 there weren't 40 years to go of the cliches that we've seen. So maybe it was a little surprising. I don't know. But I guess I related to it somewhat as, I had to live with different relatives and go to different schools. I was the new kid from kindergarten to fifth grade. I was the new kid every
Wow.
single year. So
Is
nobody likes.
Is that where the British accent came from? Your British accent?
What do
To
you mean?
entertain people?
Um, you
I'm
mean
s-
what I talk like this?
yes.
No, as much as I wanted to be the class clown and get people to like me, I was like, but
Oh, see,
by,
I thought that would have become. I thought it's how you became the class clown. Is what I'm
I mean,
trying to.
I tried to be and all that stuff, but when I was one-on-one with kids bullying me because I was so ugly and the new kid, I was like in tears every single day, and it sucked. But by the time I got to junior high school, which I was in when this came out, I had friends because I finally was stabilized in fifth grade, so I had the same friends into junior high, and then I met
And
Annie.
yeah, one of them is on this call right now.
Yeah. So I kind of related that way, I guess. And it was never so bad that I ever got into a fight with anyone because I would just run away crying. So I guess I'm on the fence between three and a quarter because of the nostalgia factor that Joel said. But it's not a movie I really need to see again. I liked it, so I'm gonna stick with three.
Yeah, I'm never watching it again,
Yeah.
but it was
But I'm
fine.
glad I watched it. I'm glad we relived it.
Well, I always ask my brother like what he thinks because he loves movies. He just watches, all the time on cable or whatever. And he said, "Oh, I love that movie." And he
Really?
actually, he was a boy in that, age group like Mark, I
And
guess.
he was a bit of a bully.
Yeah, he was not a bullied kid. That's what I said to Danny. I don't think he was ever bullied because he had a lot of self-confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
But he actually remembered, he was like, yeah, yeah, Adam Baldwin. He was in Independence Day and he was in
Oh, that must have
Full
been
Metal
where he met Dean
Jacket.
Devlin.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Dean Devlin was like, "Hey, we were friends, remember?
Right.
Right.
Come do my movie."
Annie, tell your brother that even though I didn't remember 90% of the movie. The part where they're in the bathroom about to like beat him up, and Adam Baldwin stands up and he's like way taller than the stalls. For some reason, that is what stuck in my mind. I remembered him doing that. And I remember him being like 9 feet tall. Again, I was a 10-year-old when I watched this, which was 85. So I would have watched this later than it came out. And he just seemed absolutely huge. So yes, I'm sure your brother had the same thing going on.
Uh, you're younger than my brother?
I was born in 75.
Yeah, he was born in 71. So yeah.
Okay.
All righty.
By
All
the
right.
way, just real quick, some trivia here. For some reason, because I was so young and I didn't know any actors, I didn't care about actors or whatever, but I thought he was Chris Christopherson. I don't know how I mixed that up. And when I was a kid, I remember thinking that Adam Baldwin was Chris Christopherson. So eventually I watched something with Chris Christopherson and somebody was like, "That's Chris Christopherson." I was like, "No, no, no, no. He's my bodyguard." And they were like, "What are you talking about? No, he's not. That's some random guy who hasn't done anything since." Because by 1986 or whatever, he hadn't done anything since, whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, I've learned since then it's
And
not Chris Christopherson.
at least Adam Baldwin let his eyebrows grow out. Okay. Um,
And he was a traitor in The Patriot.
Ah,
never saw that movie. I did see
never
Oh,
knew.
I
it was
did
a
see
fun movie.
Firefly though.
Yes.
Very
I have not seen that and the other one that he was in, the other show, I forget, but
Chuck.
Oh, Chuck.
no,
He
I
was
saw Chuck. No, it's
Chuck
not,
too.
something with an S, not Serendipity, something like that, something like I don't know. But he's been in a bunch of stuff,
Yeah,
including Independence Day.
he's had a career.
Yeah.
Okay, My Bodyguard is not available on cable
Damn you, Disney!
like it was in the 80s. But you could rent it from Prime for $3.99 or go to the library. All right, next week, Annie makes her nostalgic pick with The Parent Trap from 1961. And the week after, we're watching the remake from 1998.
Can
Both
I
are,
just bring up that don't you think we could just watch both of them in the week? If we have to watch two Three Musketeers in 1 week, I think we could just do two Parent Traps
I
in
don't
one
think
week.
we have
Well,
to.
well, first of all, I have no problem with that. And second of all, you're not watching two Three Musketeers. You're watching the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers.
still two
We're
movies.
watching three in a
It
row.
was supposed to be one movie.
But I
Yeah,
think
so
they're short enough to watch both in the same week, no? Well, okay, we'll
I'm
discuss it
fine
later
with it
on.
because I already watched them,
I
so
know
I'm
you
good.
did. That's why, like, then you
All
have
right,
to wait another week.
all right, both are available on Disney Plus if you subscribe to that streaming service. or you can rent them from Prime as well. Okay. And that's it for us today, boys and girls. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go watch a movie.
And also with you.
Or both